Hey folks, today we have an unboxing and overview. Now, before I get started, I know what a lot of you are saying, but you just got that Dell Latitude 2100, and after saying how much you were disappointed in tablets, why did you go ahead and get this one? Well, that netbook was bought purely as a toy, to be perfectly honest with you. I bought that because I wanted to see what a business class netbook was all about and how well one could be engineered. And it was also the first Dell Latitude I ever bought, ever owned at all. So I wanted to see what that was like in person. And I've kept that netbook for a couple weeks, and it ended up like a lot of the other netbooks I had. It just kind of sat around and didn't do much. So as much as I like netbooks, I find these days that the 12-inch ThinkPads are a little bit more versatile and useful than the netbooks. So those are what I'll be using for network diagnostics and Linux stuff and things like that. But I really wanted to remind myself of what a netbook was and how it felt to use one and what the hardware was like, because over the years I had really forgotten what that was like. And that brought me right back. I had a good experience with the Dell Latitude. I think it was an awesome little netbook, but I think this will end up being more useful because I finally found something that I like. Some of you may recall that I had a Google Nexus 7 2013 edition at one point, and it was a great tablet. I really liked it, but it felt a little bit limiting, and I didn't end up using it much, really. This one's a different story because it's a little bit more versatile for one reason. It has an SD card slot, and it can take SDXC cards, so I can put a 64 gig card in here. And that makes this tablet infinitely more useful to me because I can treat it like I did a netbook, where I would put a bunch of content on there to watch, somewhere around the house or, sitting in a chair or whatever. That's what I used to use netbooks and the hybrid tablets and whatever for a lot, was for just sitting around and watching content. I felt like with the Nexus 7 that was limiting because you're stuck with 32 gigs onboard storage or 16 gigs onboard storage, and I don't like being limited like that very much. I mean, I might as well have an iPad at that point, to tell you the truth, if it's going to be that limiting. So I decided to go for this Galaxy Tab 4, which is not only cheaper, but a little bit more versatile, because it has that SD card slot, which just makes this infinitely more useful to me. It makes it much better of a consumption device for me because of the way I store my content. And not only that, but I'm sort of more enthralled in the Android ecosystem. I have an Android phone now. It's not just a tablet to try out Android. I'm really ready to commit myself to it because there's a lot of stuff in Android that's been really useful to me, like a few applications here and there have really just blown away what was on iOS for me. And that's just my specific use case scenario. I mean, I could survive on iOS, but there's some stuff on Android that just isn't on iOS that's really useful to me. And that's why I've decided to give a tablet another try. I feel like I feel like the lack of options on the Nexus 7 really colored my impression of it in the end, and I think this will be a much better experience. So, with all that rambling and explanation and stuff out of the way, let's actually take a look at this. What I decided to pick up was the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4, the 7-inch version. So it's the same size as the Nexus 7 I used to have. Here's the Wi-Fi. It's the Wi-Fi 8GB version, but remember, you can expand that 8GB with storage. There's what the tablet itself looks like. So you can see the box has this like fake wood texture on it, which I just find kind of amusing. It's supposed to make it look premium, I guess. It has a 7-inch screen. It's WXGA, 1280 by 800. I think that's the same screen size as one of my ThinkPads. So that's kind of cool. Has a 3 megapixel front-facing camera and a 1.3 megapixel. Oh, sorry. It has a 3 megapixel camera on the back and a 1.3 megapixel on the front. So the front one's like a cheap webcam. The back one's like a tablet camera. 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Has a quad core. Think it's a I think it's a Snapdragon 400. I can't remember off the top of my head or not. So if I get that wrong, I'll stick it in an annotation or a subtitle or whatever. Has a GPS on it as well, so you could use this as a GPS in your car if you wanted. It's got the Bluetooth. It's got all this kind of stuff. Meets FCC radio frequency emission exposure guidelines. So I won't make a microwave out of myself, which is nice. So let's take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4. There she is. Look at this little beauty. Now, there's one thing I'm not too impressed about with Samsung is they give you ads on the little pieces of plastic that are on the screen the moment you take it out of the box. Like, really? I just bought your product. You don't have to do this. It's kind of overkill, guys. Maybe the marketing works for some people, but I personally think this is a bit just... It's a bit much. So that's the tablet itself. Has a nice sort of textured back to it. There's the camera. On this model, it doesn't have a flash. So there's your micro SD slot. We'll go over the rest of that later. Now, what do you get in the box? You get a USB. Unlike my phone, you actually get a USB converter and a micro USB cable, which is really nice. I like that. And you also get some documentation down there. Now, that's nothing to write home about. That's just cables and junk. So let's get to the tablet itself. Okay, now they got that plastic off the back cover, we can actually take a look at this. This is the screen. It's a WXGA display, so basically 720p, more or less, which is fine for a 7-inch tablet in my opinion. You don't need super pixel density to get the job done. You really don't. I mean, there's some people that are absolute display nuts, but I'm not one of them. The thing I don't like about some of these Samsung devices is they have to put they don't have a logo. They just put their text up there, and that just, I don't know, that just looks off to me. I wish they had a logo or something that looked a little bit more elegant than just their name. I mean, it's like if I wrote my name up there, Elmol3. I mean, it would just look kind of silly. I think I've always not really liked that on Samsung products, but I can get over that if the tablet is good. There's that little front-facing camera, and man, that is little. On the bottom, you actually have capacitive buttons down here. There's that. I think that button shows your tasks. The home button is a physical button on this particular tablet, and the back button is a physical or a capacitive button as well. Let's look at the top. You get a 3.5mm headphone jack up there. On the side here, there's a little microphone hole. Below that is a power button. Below that's the volume rocker. And right here, which I think is interesting, is it has an IR sensor. So it already does a lot more than that Nexus did. You can use it like a TV remote with remote codes and stuff like that. I really want to see if this works with my completely obscure Chinese TV I got at Goodwill. That'll be interesting. There's the micro SD card slot, which is infinitely important to me. If that wasn't there, this tablet probably wouldn't be much of an option for me. Takes a regular micro USB, so nothing unusual there. Little speaker on the back there. I don't know how that sounds yet. There is your camera lens on the back. And on the other side, there is absolutely nothing. So it's this tablet seems to have a little more versatility to it, and seems to have a lot more things that are just fun about it to me. So maybe the Google Nexus devices make better phones than they do tablets. I don't know, but I think this tablet, just based on the features it has, seems to be a lot more fun to me. So I'm gonna set this up to my liking, use it for a while, and then I'll give you my opinion on it. So we'll come back once I've used this a while. Alright, this is a camera test of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 indoors. This is take two because I had my finger over the microphone, which is conveniently right above the power button in a really nice place to hold the tablet with your left hand. Thanks, Samsung. So, I just gotta be conscious of that. Not like I'm gonna be making videos or taking pictures with this tablet really at all, so doesn't really matter that much. There's some stuff on the floor. There's a ThinkPad, there's the tripod, there's the case and the netbook. So this is a well-lighted area. If you look behind there, it looks pretty dark. Here's an even darker area. By the window in the bed. This is very dark, so low light is not a strong point of this camera, I would say. Here's a semi-lighted area, which looks pretty grainy. At least on the LCD it does, so yeah. Camera's not so good. This is just a test of the front-facing camera, and I see a lot of graininess and some like horizontal lines and stuff like that that just look pretty bad. So obviously a camera like this would be fine for like you know, Skype calls and social networking and stuff like that. It wouldn't be too bad. Mostly for video chat, I think, less social networking because it'd look kind of like crap. But it seems okay for Skype calls and things like that, so that's no big deal. So let's take this outside and check it out outside. Alright, here we are outside with our usual camera test of the backyard. Now as you can see, I'm standing where I usually stand at the beginning of these videos, and the camera seems like it's zoomed in or a lot closer than it usually is. That's because the field of view on this camera really sucks. It's a lot more zoomed in than it should be, and that's something I'm not a huge fan of. But you know, that's just the way it is. Like, this umbrella is pretty... I'm a fair distance away from this umbrella, and it's like right up close. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know why the field of view is this narrow. But anyway, let's just take a look here. I have a feeling the shake is going to be pretty bad on this camera. There's our pumpkin, nice and orange. The lettuce plants. And this little flower here. More of our little statue things. Frog. Let's take a look at the colorful pepper plants again. I notice a lot of shake when I walk. Color doesn't seem that vibrant on the screen, but that might just be the screen, I don't know. Yeah, let's do the sunflower test. Oh, we can do the kitty test. I think I can pinch to zoom. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not liking what the shakiness looks like on this camera. Cat in the garden. Well, as you can see, the sunflowers have sort of withered away since the last camera test. Even more so. I'm gonna zoom in. This is zoomed in all the way. And it looks really shaky. There's more of those pepper plants. I think this narrow field of view contributes to the shakiness as well. Don't quote me on that, but it seems to be the case. It looks more shaky on the screen when the fields of view on cameras are narrow like this. Pond has a net over it to prevent leaves, so can't take the best look at it in the world, but we can at least walk down and check out the flowers underneath. So, you know, it's that time of year where camera tests aren't the best. So maybe the best thing to do is look at stuff that's far away, like this tree over there. So that's a camera test of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4. Obviously, this is not the best camera ever. I really don't like it, actually. But honestly, I don't buy a tablet, and you know, I don't buy a tablet to take pictures with it. I think people that do that look really stupid when they do. So if you're walking around like I am now in your backyard holding a tablet up, filming stuff, you're gonna look like an idiot. You just plain are. So, you know, it's one of those things. The camera is really not the most important thing on a tablet. The screen really is. So that has been a test of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4's camera outside, while the cat itches himself. Anyway, there you go. So what do I think about this tablet after having used it for about a week? I really like it. It's really made me reevaluate my attitude towards tablets. After being frustrated with the Nexus 7 and how boring and, how there just wasn't much going for it. And I know people like that. But me personally, that kind of bores me to death when it comes to a tablet, which is sort of your in-between, the in-between device between a laptop and a phone. And I feel like that should be a feature-rich experience. And this Samsung definitely is. It gave me, I got, 2 years of free Dropbox space out of it. I got the Handcom Office Suite. It has the SD card reader. It has the IR sensor for your TV. And, just the SD card alone was pretty much the reason I got this over something else. And it's really proven itself really handy. I really, really, really like this tablet. And it's really made me rethink the whole tablet landscape as compared to things like the netbook you see over there or things like this ThinkPad down here. It's really been a nice experience, and I think people that are skeptical about tablets like I have been, I think you owe it to yourself to at least give a few different ones a try. I tried one and didn't like it and poo-pooed it, but this Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 caught my eye because it was a pretty cheap tablet, seemed like a really good value for money, and it really is. I think people that are skeptical about tablets owe it to themselves to at least try a few different ones to see what they like. If you're like me and you like flexibility, functionality, and a feature-rich experience, Samsung ones are definitely the ones for you. If you like the bare-bones stock Android and really like to, mess around with your tablet and, like put Ubuntu for Android or whatever on it, definitely go with a Nexus 7. If you're a tinkerer, that's the tablet for you. If you're just someone who just uses it and wants a feature-rich experience, a Samsung Galaxy Tab is a pretty good option. Although if you're if you're looking for the newest specs, you would owe it to yourself to get the Nexus 7 for that alone. But I'm not pushing this tablet all that hard. I'm just taking advantage of the features it has. So the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 is definitely good enough for me. So overall, I really like this tablet. It's been a fantastic experience, and it's really made me rethink the whole thing. And, I was wrong. Tablets can be really useful if you find one that fits your needs. And I have found one that fits my needs and does so very well. So really good stuff. So, that's a camera test and some just my impressions of the tablet so far. I really like this tablet a lot. As I said earlier in the video, the feature-rich experience is really what did it for me, and I think that's what's made the difference with this Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 and why I like it so much. It's not as boring as the Nexus 7 was for me out of the box. There's your SD card slot. There's your IR sensor. Those two things alone make it pretty cool. Speaker. A mark of some sort. Weird. One thing this thing had on the back of it was a like the serial number was on like a printed label and it started to peel off. So I took that off and put it in the box. So I didn't lose the serial number. But yeah, I think that was a dumb thing that Samsung did with this particular tablet. So what are the useful things that I take advantage of on this tablet? As you can see, this is the TouchWiz interface, which is actually not that bad. I've heard some people criticize it, but it's the only real issue I have with it is that you can't drag icons on top of one another and make a folder like you can on stock Android. You have to drag it up to the top where it says create folder, and that seems a bit unintuitive to me. I don't like that as much, but it's not that hard to get used to. Uh, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are things like Handcom Office, which is a Microsoft Office equivalent on this tablet. This comes with it for free on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4, so that's really nice. You have an equivalent for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and you can add a Bluetooth keyboard to this setup and have a nice, productive experience on this tablet if you so desire. That's not my prerogative. That's really not my thing. I like using computers for that rather than tablets. Although a tablet really is a computer, just a cut down version of one. But yeah, TouchWiz is not, it's not all that jerky all the time. It is a little bit when you open like folders here, like watch this. That's a tiny bit jerky, but not really. But UI subtleties like that don't really annoy me at all. I don't really care. There's one thing that is really useful about Samsung tablets in general. I don't know if this is the case for most other tablets, but what Samsung has done to Android is really nice. Let's go to General here and go to Applications. Out of the box, let's just pick Angry Birds for example, you can move applications to the SD card, which is really cool. You can just hit that button and it literally just copies it over to the SD card and you get a little notification down there when it's done. That is the kind of flexibility and feature-rich experience I'm talking about. I like stuff like that. You don't have to mess with the tablet to get what you want. It's all just kind of right there. And that's really important to me. I like that a lot. So, that's just one example of the flexibility you can get out of the SD card slot. And not to mention, the test video I recorded earlier was all recorded onto that SD card. I didn't use any of the space built into the tablet at all. That was all just right there, right onto the SD card. So that's really nice. As you can see, it's taking a while to move this application. Sometimes it doesn't work, I've noticed. Sometimes it'll take forever to move it. Oh, it did move. Okay, it worked. See, you can move the application to the SD card so you don't eat up that 8 gigabytes you get built in. This is the kind of flexibility and feature-rich experience I'm talking about. I really like that. So, that's just really cool to me. As far as graphics performance, my impression of it, I've played Real Racing 3 on it. As you can see, they have Hedge Wars available too. But Real Racing 3 is a game that I've seen Mobile Tech Review here on YouTube test a lot. She reviews a lot of mobile gadgets and stuff like that, and she uses this game a lot to push the graphics. And it's a little bit choppy on here, but it's not choppy enough to make it unplayable and useless. It's definitely good enough to play. But as you can see, my light games folder is a lot bigger than that. Tux Racer is the one I play the most because that's an old Linux game, and that's very nostalgic to me. Scrabble's pretty fun too. That's Bejeweled Blitz, which is a lot of fun as well. Monster Island is one of those random games that's just kind of hilarious. Angry Birds, why not? It's a guilty pleasure sometimes, even though the game really is all about luck rather than, having any skill at all. And, yeah. I can say without a doubt the geekiest thing I've done with this tablet is watch Carl Sagan's Cosmos on it. I'm a huge fan of astronomy and space and origins of life and things like that. So, that's the kind of nerd I am. Plus, Carl Sagan is someone I absolutely worship, so, This is the kind of stuff you can do. This is the other kind of things you can do with the SD card slot. You can have several SD cards with different things on them, like different media content. Let's say you have all your apps on the storage itself, and you don't put any of them on the SD card. You could have several SD cards with different pieces of media on them, like let's say you have Carl Sagan's Cosmos, and then the newer Neil deGrasse Tyson version of Cosmos. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. But Yeah, I mean, let's say you have one SD card with that and one with the other. You can have the flexibility to have several SD cards with a bunch of different types of media on them, and that's really, really nice. I like that a lot. So that's an example of the flexibility you get with the SD card slot. And obviously, you have the other feature-rich things like the IR sensor and the added the applications that Samsung gives you for free, like the Handcom Office Suite. The other thing you get, of course, is the flexibility of Android itself. There are things on Android that blow iOS out of the water that I'll probably go into in a different video. But one of those that I'd like to point out is Lumia. That's a really good one. What Lumia is a Second Life client that just blows the one on iOS out of the water. On iOS, there is one called Pocket Metaverse, and it's pretty much useless. Lumia is 10 times more feature-rich and much more useful. You can walk around in a 3D environment. You can use it basically. You can log in and use it almost like the Messenger app for Facebook, where you just chat with people, which is mostly what I do with it. So that's really, really useful. Things like that. Little things like that are kind of the killer app for me. That's just one aspect of Android that I find a lot more compelling than iOS, at least for my particular use case. That might not be for everybody, but that's my particular use case. Overall, this video is about the tablet. So the tablet itself is great. It's not like a completely destroyed version of Android like some tablets are. I mean, what Samsung has done here, TouchWiz is a bit unnecessary, I think. You don't really need that to have a good experience on a tablet, but the rest of it, the included Office Suite, the IR sensor, the SD card slot, the really nice build quality that feels to me much less cheap than the Nexus 7 does. The whole package just seems a lot nicer than the Nexus 7. So that's why I'm keeping this tablet. I think this one's definitely a keeper because it's less boring, it's more feature rich, it makes me happier. To put it simply, it just makes me happier. So that's definitely a good thing. I really like this tablet, and I would definitely recommend it for those of you who don't push, who don't spec whore their devices, you know what I mean? So it's good stuff. I really like it. If you'd like a review on the specs, if you'd like a better review on the specs and stuff, I would check out places like Mobile Tech Review and Erica Griffin's YouTube channel. Both of those women do superb videos on mobile technology. So those are my favorites to watch. So there you have it. This has been my experience and my impressions of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4. I've rethought my whole attitude on tablets, and I've found that if you can find the right one, it really changes your opinion. And this one definitely did for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and have a good one, everybody. Ciao.